Where we have Labor Director Dave Dell'Isola. It's been a minute, Dave. Thanks for coming on. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing, Chris? Sabrina?
We're doing pretty good. You growing out your beard for Christmas?
Yeah, I'm selling corn after this too.
That's a deep cut. That's a Farmer Woodstick joke right there, guys. Well, Dave, I guess we'll just start and give you the floor here. Where are we with the PUA, the payments and the batches and the fraud and just all of it? So go ahead again, guys. Labor Director Dave Dell'Isola. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, guys. Good morning, Guam. Yes, we continue to batch. There's going to be another batch coming out this morning. Those are all clean claims up to and including the 10th of September. So if you filed from the 10th of December or before, we'll be batching that monies up and hopefully getting it out by Friday. I haven't received the payment register yet to see if everything went well and there was no problems with the batch. I'll probably get that in the next hour or two. But if it all looks good, then we should proceed to getting the payments out by Friday or this weekend for direct deposits, and checks will be coming out shortly. We continue to make adjustments with the LWA program. We made some significant progress as far as with the programmers. We think we have a path to move forward with it. So we are now reviewing the payments for the first 3 weeks and going and rifling through that huge list of people for to check about any fraud or overpayments before we batch that up. So we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel for the first 3 weeks, and if that goes really well, then I'll release 4 through 6 shortly after that. So that's moving very well. Our appeals are moving very well. We just continue to make adjustments because of contact tracing and COVID. Our department has not been immune to those challenges. And, I months ago compartmentalized the department so that if such a thing, occurs, it would have the least amount of impact on us. And so far, we've kept ahead of the curve, and it hasn't affected our program. And we continue to keep our fingers crossed and hope that we can continue to move and pay the monies out accordingly. So, in a nutshell, that's about what we're looking at. Have probably an oversight hearing next week. So I'm trying to get some numbers together so that we can report out what we've done. I know we paid close to 30,000 claims, and we put out about $415 million. And we just continue to keep going, keep pushing out the money, and keep cleaning claims. We're dealing with the fraud. We're working very closely with Homeland Security and the FBI and the AG's office. We're moving forward with some cases of fraud, and we hope just to let the island know that if you're going to commit fraud in our program, that you're going to get prosecuted. But everything else seems to be working well. We're keeping our head above water, and that's all that I care about, is keeping the money flowing.
When you said you were moving forward with cases with the AG's office, how many cases are we talking?
There's 2 cases that we've identified as to see if they're going to accept it or not.
Mm-hmm. It's like a identity fraud, or
mostly fraud, making false claims and collecting money falsely.
So these are local applicants, yeah. Dave?
These are local, yes. Mm-hmm. The FBI and the Homeland Security and our OIG are taking care of the off-island frauds.
Right.
Do you know how many there are in off-island frauds?
Oh, well, it all depends on how you define it. Attempts to come in, probably in the 60 to 70,000. uh, how many have gotten paid? Not very many, but we are trying to identify those that might have gotten through our net. We have some very strong fraud measures in place, and the system has been under attack in different ways, but it's managed to hold on and continue on. You know, thank God that the program that we're using is a nationwide program. They're doing it in a half a dozen other states. So it's very robust in security measures, and it's has been able to thwart any kind of attacks that have come at it.
How many appeals so far have been filed?
Well, the appeals I think are above 100. The exact number is very fluid because a lot of times what happens in the appeals is that in the informal process before you get to the appeals, where we talk to the client to find out, do they have all the information they need for the appeal? Do they understand why they're appealing? And before they move it forward so that they're prepared, a lot of times we're able to solve, reconcile, or compromise before that. So a lot of them have dropped out or withdrawn their appeals. The ones that have moved forward, they're heard, and then after they're heard, the appellate officer has to write up a judgment. And I haven't seen any judgments written up and signed by me or passed through yet. I know we've held dozens of them. So those are what hopefully I'll be getting soon, or I'll know about what happened with each one of those soon. But I'm happy to say that a lot of the appeals are being solved just through explaining and understanding what the situation is, and either making adjustments in their favor or making the appellant understand clearly why they were denied, and they understood and withdrew.
Mm-hmm. What about the overpayments?
The overpayments, well, those are moving also. The notices have gone out that the overpayments, and that's what's kind of shaking. A lot of people are getting those letters. We're in the process of installing the overpayment module into the system. That should be going into the system shortly, and that will be able to let us be able to put in a payment, a way to take money out of their future PUA benefits, and also get a way to offset the accounting. So that's moving forward, and hopefully have that in the next week or so. And in the meanwhile, the overpayment division is handling people individually, and people are coming in, paying their amounts and continuing with their claims. Most of it has to do with those who made income in a certain period of time in their PUA claim, and then they were disqualified for that period, and then they were after in the latter part of August, when we went back to PCOR 1, they were laid off of furlough again, and they're qualified. So that's the majority of what the overpayments were. Either they got the PPP, and they were given it after they got the PUA claim. So of course, once they got the PPP, then they weren't qualified for their weeks, so they have to pay back those weeks, and then they continue on. So it's an accounting procedure in a lot of ways, and then some are just they got paid and they went back to work and they continued to get paid, and they were overpaid and they got caught. So now they have to overpay. Now they have to pay us back. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. How many? Do you have an estimate on how many letters went out to the individuals that were overpaid?
Probably just over 100.
And out of
I
the
mean, it's not an unruly number, but it is certainly a large enough number to. We want to satisfy that why the people have the money before they spend it all, even though it's not their money. But we understand the times, and if you get a check and you have to pay back several $1,000s. We want to at least let them notify that they are in that they have to pay it back.
out of the over 100, then how many have since resolved their overpayment?
Probably several dozen. A lot of them have recognized it. Some have come in and paid. Some have recognized it and are making appointments to come in. We're still in P41, so they still have to make appointments for us to turn in their checks or to make their payments. And then, of course, all those overpayments, they have a right to appeal or a right to make sure that their claims are re-reviewed to ensure that they hear the explanation and they understand what the overpayment is.
Are you guys experiencing any sort of backlog with the appeals process? We just have somebody commenting that they hadn't heard any from DOL since July when they had filed an appeal.
Well, the appeals process just started a month ago, and there's only so many appeals that we can handle a day. I think it's like 4 to 6 appeals because, each one takes an hour or more to go through the motion. It's like a court hearing, basically. And we are booked up. And so we are filling them up as quickly as we can. And, we can, so they'll be heard. It's just that we're going through them as quickly as we can and hearing as many as we can and getting through them as many as we can. So, you got to remember there's not a lot, but there's only so many that we can do in one day, and we're going through them and handling them. There is a line of people, and we just have to be patient. We're doing the best we can. Remember, we're still in P-Core, so we're trying to do most by Zoom. And some, if they don't, we still make arrangements to have a hearing, but we have a special, I changed our conference room into a hearing room because it's huge and it allows for a safe way to meet and to hear it. But each one takes anywhere from 1 to 2 hours, and the whole room has to be sanitized all over again before the next one comes on. So you can see that we can't just funnel them through quickly because we're in P41. Yeah. So that's what's kind of really slowed us down in holding these meetings.
Dave, when does this current PUA run out?
Good question. This current PUA runs out in either 2 ways. Either you've reached your 39 weeks of benefits or to the end of December, depending on when you were furloughed, laid off, or affected by COVID.
Right.
So we're hoping that with the new president, maybe the new Senate, that a new mood would come in. But I'm hoping this new, not the new, but the Senate might pass something before the end of the year.
Right.
Because I know people still need help.
As we wait, though, to see what Washington will do, have you been involved in any local discussions with any local leaders about standing up a local unemployment insurance program?
A local uninsured program, it depends on how it would.
Unemployment, sorry.
This program took me 2 months to stand up, which was a record time and a lot of work. To stand up a regular UI, if I understand you correctly, would take about 1.5 to 2 years to stand up a Guam local unemployment program. and you'd have to build up the base of the trust fund in order to pay them out. So the governor has expressed strong interest in looking into Guam and starting up a UI program for the island, but that is not a short-term fix. That is a long-term fix. And in any state, that division is the largest division of any labor department. And it's very labor intensive to stand up a UI program, and it takes a while.
So there aren't any no plans, Dave, to
short-term fix would be an extension of the PUA.
Right. Were there no plans to use any of the local CARES Act funds as a stopgap in case we don't get anything on the federal side at the end of the year?
Well, this program is not a cheap program. We're probably going to go into, right now I think we're around $415 million, which is the most any program has ever given out, if I'm not mistaken. And 1 week's worth of batching is around $10 million, close to. So, those are only people who were unemployed because of COVID. There are other people that are also affected. So I don't have any control over those stuff. That's something that I'm focusing on just what's on my plate.
Right.
And that plate is pretty full. And I'm trying to get the LWA out. So that's an extra $1,800 for the whole 6 weeks if I'm able to successfully get that out. And that's a $45 million that has been budgeted to us. So that's what I'm concentrating on, because that can help people out in a very quick manner if I can just make sure that the overpayments and the fraud is removed as much as possible from those payments.
Are you a little bit concerned, though, if we don't get any federal help by the end of this year with 35,000 people unemployed?
That's my faith, is that they will figure something out in the States, because it's not in our realm. I mean, we're not the only one in this boat. I think all over the nation with this COVID outbreak. So, that helps Guam's cause, because if we were the only ones suffering and the states were all rebounding, that would be very difficult to get extra congressional help of passing additional PUA. I feel that we're in the same boat as the nation, so I hope that they figure that the nation needs to continue with the payments until we start in the recovery mode, and we're not in recovery mode yet. So I just need to keep getting this program and this money out as long as we can, and hope for something to be passed in DC, because that is really the only way that we're going to continue on.
Do you remember, was it Vice Speaker Talina Nelson who introduced a local UI bill?
I remember something passing, but like I said, unless it was something, how do you implement it? How do you get the money out to the people who deserve it is always the hardest part. Saying that you want to get out millions of dollars to the people, but how do you get it? How do you identify? How do you make sure that you don't duplicate? How do you make sure that there's no fraud? It is always the hardest part, and there is no short-term solution to that.
Right. No, I get that. I just, you said it would take a year. So if it was introduced earlier this year, nothing happened. We actually could have been acting on it for the past 7-8 months while we've been in this pandemic mode. But I guess it is what it is, right?
I stay in my lane. I do what I need to do, which is I have on my plate.
You don't want none of this smoke, Dave.
Continue to make sure that is really the lifeline of a lot of the people that are out there.
Right.
And, I am just doing everything we can to make sure that the COVID doesn't affect us and my program, and that we continue to get it out, on a bi-weekly basis. And, you'd be surprised. It's a monumental task to keep doing just that.
Yeah.
And it's a challenge. I'm putting out fires left and right, with tens of thousands of fraud attempts hitting us every week. And it's just the overpayments and the appeals and the people who need to file claims and fixing claims. Every time we batch, we have several hundred wrong information put in for the banks.
Yeah.
And these are like 300 people who don't get their direct deposits because they didn't put in the right bank information, and they get bounced back, and they're crying because they need to get that money, and we have to make those reconciliations and change them and do a. That's why I did a special batch last week, is just for those several hundred that didn't get paid on the previous batch, just so I can get the money out.
Yeah.
And our workforce is shrinking. So I can't stress enough. I just trying to do as much as we can to keep that money flowing, and that alone is a challenge. And I just have to hope that Congress will pass something that will continue, so that all I have to do is just keep this program going,
right,
or change the PUA, or switch back on the FPUC. I mean, if they were to switch back on the FPUC and make it retro back to July, that can happen as soon as I get the money.
Yeah.
Because those people already paid, all that is in the system. So that's what I'm hoping for, is that they continue with the existing system and just change the numbers, add more monies, or extend it past December. And that is the quickest and easiest way that we can help our island and our people recover.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your questions. I hope I was able to answer them.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Be safe.
Be safe, guys.
That's the. What do we got, Jay? Oh, it's my week.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so we have virtual banana donut. Banana saga there, Dave. I do a little thing. I put in the baking powder, so there's a little bit of crisp, and then you get into that luscious, moist banana.
Jeez.
Yeah. So there you go, guys. Virtual banana donuts this morning for all of our guests in the KUAM News Zoom room. Hey, it's 7:48. We had just a ton of comments about this UI. Knowing that UI